So Arsenal win, Tottenham win.
I would say I'm going for
Seems like a game that's got
Arsenal.
all this build up, but it's going to end up as a draw, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, that's always the curse, isn't it? We're building up. We're talking party.
I'm just scared Nuno is going to come out with his really stubborn like sort of game plan and really try to snuff Arsenal out. Hit them on the
Yeah,
counter. It's going to be a boring 1-0, but I'm just hoping the game has goals. That's all I'm hoping for.
yeah, yeah. Well, before I start, I mean, can we call this another El Clasico? Another El Clasico, City Chelsea.
Yeah,
No, I think
for sure.
coming into City, I think Guardiola. What's most important, in my opinion, is the way he's going to set his team up. The lineup is going to be very important. Ole wants his strikers to work hard, to press like Cavani. Cavani presses like mad. Martial is more like relax, Berbatov like that. Not like Berbatov, but you get what I mean.
That style. He's just not like a work rate like he's
not work rate sort of
he's not
player.
Going to be topping the work rate for sure.
So that's going to be the problem. I mean, actually, I wouldn't mind. I really wouldn't mind, because if we do go in for a striker next year, Haaland or whoever, and there's got to be some that leaves.
Yeah,
either
sure.
And Martial looks the more likely one.
There was some news of like Spurs being interested and being linked, but I think that's just creating some sort of, I mean, like, he's definitely going to have some competition. Like players like Sancho is only going to get better once Rashford comes in. I think it's going to be harder. I think it probably was the best time to sort of, start something or get like at least some performances. But
yeah. I mean, you look at Memphis Depay.
I mean, in terms of the start of the game, I saw like the extended highlights. I think West Ham posted the extended highlights. I mean, the first few highlights were of like West Ham, the attacking track. Do you think like that might be an issue? Like, I mean, home game. I mean, obviously it was more of a full strength West Ham side compared to United. I think there were more changes in the United side. But do you think
that's the big point
issue for Oli? Like, you see a lot of like big teams like Chelsea, City, Liverpool, even European teams for that matter, they sort of get the ball rolling and they create the tempo. And it's always the other team trying to counteract that. Like West Ham would be a team to counter that. Do you think teams have been starting a bit too sort of well against like United?
Yeah, well, I mean, yesterday's game, I think, showed a representation of that. Of course, I think if Man United had played their first 11, their proper first 11, I think, of course, they would have done way better. But I think the concerns are definitely with this fringe players. I think Alex Telles coming back from an injury.
Yeah. Because, I mean, Lanzini's goal was on the 9th minute. So, I mean,
yes, it was quite early on, And I think Donny van de Beek was the one that gave the ball away that led to the goal. Okay, but of course, nevertheless, it was terrible defending by Alex Telles. Well, I thought was poor defending on his part. And that's the worrying bit for me, because see, in Premier League, Champions League, even the League Cup, whatever competition that you're in, your squad depth needs to be really thorough. And I think we're already coming into the points of the games where you need the depth in your squad. You look at Chelsea and City. We'll talk about Chelsea later, but I think of all the big teams so far, in my honest opinion of everybody, I think nobody has been completely just stellar 100% yet. But City and Chelsea, even Liverpool for that matter, they get over the line. They too played more or less their fringe players. You saw Minamino playing for Liverpool.
I'll get into that next.
Yeah, Saul Niguez playing for Chelsea, but United struggle. United struggled in that sense. Anthony Martial, Jadon Sancho, they all look very quiet. Of course, Jadon Sancho will only get better. We've seen how he's played in the Bundesliga, but of course, bearing in mind Bundesliga is different. But he can only get better. But Anthony Martial is fitted to the game already. I thought that he had a poor game. I thought that he perhaps he could have worked a little harder. It looks as though he's really down on confidence, not really being the Martial that we know. And also, I think maybe Ole is going to stop experimenting him at number 9. I think push him back to the left, where Van Gaal used to play him in the left. I think he doesn't look confident. He doesn't look like he's smooth in that number 9 role. You see Ronaldo being instinctive. You don't see the same for Anthony Martial. I think that's because he's not an out and out number 9. I think he's settled playing on left wing. So of course, Man United lost the game. And at the end of the day, I think if you look at it on a United perspective of the team, the coach, you'd think that they want to go for the Champions League and the league, the Premier League. So of course, getting one competition out of the way, I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to lose too much sleep. But if you look at it on the balance of everything, I think the FA Cup, the League Cup is the more realistic trophies to be won, because he's got to win a trophy this season.
Yeah,
I think with the players that United have, they have got to win a trophy this season. And of course, that's the only worry, because you'd want to see him go and extend at least, you'd think minimum semi-finals, but this is out in the 3rd round. So of course, on that aspect, I don't think Solskjaer is going to be so worried. But then the pressure is on him to now deliver the league, to deliver the Champions League, because you can't have another young boys episode. You can't have that episode again. And of course, the pressure is now all of a suddenly on Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah. I definitely don't think he would have liked a home loss in that sense, but I think he's not going to lose sleep over it,
Yeah.
He did say in the post-match that they do struggle against low-block teams in breaking down those teams. That's what he mentioned, and I think he said he's not, they're not a team that's just going to fling balls into the box. They're not going to try that desperate, last-ditch attempt to, sort of win the game. I just wanted to ask you, just if you can tell me briefly so we can keep this moving. So, I guess that's him saying they struggle against low block teams. I saw it very much in Sancho, the way he started with United, you see. I don't think, definitely he's not had the best of starts, but he's only going to get better. I agree with what you say. But do you think that he's struggling to find space? Do you think because I found one thing in Germany, the reason why football flows very freely there is because there's more space. I think lesser teams play with low block. I think more teams there try to go for a result, regardless of, who they're up against and what the tactics are. You see, that was a hotbed for, managers like Klopp, Tuchel, even Guardiola went there. And, he had his best ever record with Bayern, So there's definitely a lot more space in that league. And do you think he's sort of struggling to find that space? How do you think they can sort of try to find a little bit more and break down these more low block teams? Do you think they do have to resort to the long ball tactics and a bit of unorthodox tactics, or do you think Ole is the manager to sort of create some sort of style of play there?
Well, I'll say yes and no. Obviously, yes, being the space in Bundesliga is much more than the Premier League.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think Sancho knows that. Sancho gets that. But I also think that Sancho has primarily played on the left so far. I think he played on the left against I can't remember the games before West Ham.
Yeah. And also another point that he doesn't have raw pace to burn. So he's more of trying to dribble and finding the spaces.
Yes, and I don't see him overlapping and playing comfortably with Luke Shaw yet.
Right.
See?
Right.
I think with Luke Shaw occupying a lot on the left side, Sancho either cuts in. It's almost as though Sancho is a guy in a party who is perhaps out of place a little bit. I don't know where to go. I'm not in this. I'm not in that. So I don't entirely say that. Look, this guy's got a rude awakening. Of course, the Bundesliga is giving you more space. Definitely, that's a fact. But I also think that the players that Sancho are playing with are not exactly giving him the ball in the best areas as well. We have to judge this over a course of 5 to 10 games, I believe, to really, really understand how best we can. Jadon Sancho is going to play. But so far, it's more of snippets and so on. And of course, yesterday, he started the game. So, definitely yesterday is, in one sense, a litmus test. But you're also playing with players like Juan Mata. You're also playing with players like Donny van de these guys have not got a touch of the ball for what? How many games? Nemanja Matic. So I wouldn't say the jury is out. I think it's too early.
Definitely. I
Yeah,
think it's
but
just finding that right sort of balance for him.
he's got to give a little bit of a momentum in his gameplay as well. If this is going to carry on 5 games, 10 games, 15 games, then it's going to be another scenario of when exactly Jadon Sancho is going to get on. We don't. It's not going to. We hope it's not going to. For Man United's perspectives, not going to be another Donny van de Beek situation because they paid lots of money for Sancho. But I also think when Sancho goes to his natural right position, when Rashford comes back, when Greenwood is going to be playing more in the middle, all with Ronaldo, I think that would be because Sancho is more natural on the right.
Yeah. He might even like sort of bounce off like Rashford coming back, someone like Rashford coming back and like occupying that left wing and then maybe creating sort of a freer role for him. So he can play sort of, because I bet he can play center attacking as well, I mean, he has, he got a lot of assists as well, he's not just a goal getter, but he's someone who can create play, so.
Yeah. We know his abilities, we just got to see it more often.
Definitely. I think, I mean, in that sense, I don't think it's going to be like a Bebe or like a Eric Jamba. I don't think.
Owen Hargreaves.
Yeah. Definitely not. So I guess moving on from United, I guess one of the better performers, obviously Arsenal with the win against AFC Wimbledon. I'm not really going to talk too much about that. I mean, I think Lacazette had a good show in that sense. They got to see definitely like as a player, I think got to see Eddie Nketiah as well. I think he got
Eddie Nketiah got a goal.
And Thomas Partey. I think Thomas Partey was one of the players of that match. But I think they're just looking to get like good form ahead of the North London derby. But definitely AFC Wimbledon being a League One team is definitely not going to be sort of the strongest oppositions, but still a good win and a clean sheet for them. I think they'll be taking sort of that momentum into the derby this weekend. But I guess we'll get on to the derby. The other performers were definitely Liverpool with the 3-0 win as well. From what I saw, I think
what do you think
a lot
about
of
the
people
game?
were wondering what he was going to do, what players he was going to field. But, I think definitely not the most. I think Norwich had a lot of chances, definitely. But Klopp also started sort of used this chance to give like the full debuts to players like Kyle Gordon, Connor Bradley from right back, and as well Tyler Morton. I think Tyler Morton is another player to look out for. So he replaced Naby Keita at the second half. He's sort of that midfield player that can play in the number 6, can play in the number 8, can string passes, but he's very good at controlling like the tempo of the game. That's what he's done for the academy. So after Curtis Jones left the Liverpool Academy, he was the one that took over the Liverpool Academy's midfield, basically. So I think it was a good chance to sort of get players like that. Good experience. I think Norwich away is definitely not easy, but Norwich have not been on form. So, I mean, it was a good game to get them in. But I would say definitely Minamino was the star performer with 2 goals. I think he looked really sharp. So he was given his chance. I don't think he's had much of a chance to, show his talents in the Premier League. But the important thing was him and Origi were given their chances and they both took their chances. And that's the most important thing. And it's just gonna give Klopp like sort of like a like very positive problem to have. I mean, that sort of headache of, all the players are performing at a high standard, they're getting the goals. I think it was 2 well taken goals by Minamino. I mean, one at the start and one at the end. And as well, Origi as well. I mean, he got that one chance on the header and he headed it into the bottom corner. So I think it's just given Klopp more options in that sense, because squad depth has been a big question for Liverpool this season, whether the squad can sort of, and giving more player starts is just going to sort of keep everyone's sharpness on a level. So you're not over relying on Mane and Salah, because once AFCON starts, I think over reliance on players like that is going to be a downfall eventually, So players like Minamino and Origi have to step up. But for me, my sort of revelation this season has been Tsimikas. I think he had another good game.
Oh yeah, he had a
and
good
defensive.
Game.
Yeah. Even over the weekend, so I felt he had a good. I mean, tough opposition against Crystal Palace. I think Palace were on a sort of a rise there, and they're playing very differently under Patrick Vieira. So I mean, he got the assist for Regi's goal. I think he's proven to be as good, if not slightly below, Andy Robertson in terms of attacking. Definitely defensively he could do better, I think. But I think it's really Klopp has done that really well in terms of how he's brought him into the team at the right time to sort of get the best out of him. Because bringing him into the team at the wrong time, I think would have really like bossed his confidence line away. So I think this sort of few weeks or so has allowed for him to come into the team in a really good moment for him to get his confidence up so that if he is called upon, in like these cup games, I think he can perform. Yeah. So I mean, all around like a lot of positives. Players like Joe Gomez and Konate as well. Konate the second game.
Yeah, Konate had a good game.
Yeah.
Right. And I just wanted to ask you, Jerry. I mean, if you look at Minamino, and you mentioned just now about having a good problem.
Yeah.
Problem spoiled for share. Choices for striker and all that. And if you look at Sadio Mane, how's he's performing? How Sadio Mane is perhaps not the Sadio Mane of old. Could this be a chance of where Minamino gets into that front three of Jota, Minamino, and Salah? Do you think that will work?
I think it could, because you see, Minamino is that type of player. So we got him from Liverpool, bought him from Salzburg at that time. So it was him and Haaland that had come to Anfield, I think, and he had scored a goal at Anfield on his Champions League sort of debut at Anfield. So that's what got Liverpool looking at Minamino. So he's sort of that player that can play across all three positions in that front three, sort of left wing, center attacking midfield, and right wing. So you see, he's not a player that's like really reliant on just one position, so he can play. He's a bit more flexible and in that sense. He just has to prove himself in terms of getting into the pace of sort of the English league and just the physicality of it. I think if he can get used to that, I think positionally it's just whether he can. So you see, because Sadio Mane is a very physical player, he's a very strong player. And I guess he knows when to use his body strength. Like you see, Mane is very smart when going down in the penalty box. I'm sure, like he knows when to go down and when to use his strength. Whereas someone like Takumi Minamino, he would have to use more of his skill, his agility, and his guile to sort of get past players.
But improve his craft, lah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's only going to get better, but he definitely needs to prove at that really high level for Liverpool, because when he's been called upon in those big games, he hasn't sort of had a chance to show himself.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what I got.
That'll be a good shout, lah. I mean, if you get it, Minamino joining. I mean, Southampton loan did him good, obviously.
Definitely.
Because he didn't have some game time. So obviously that's very vital for him, for Liverpool. But yeah, good shout. I mean, with Mane, the AFCON, all of these things. Klopp has a good problem, obviously, in terms of depth, because we've been crying out for depth for Liverpool, worrying about it and so on.
Yeah.
Obviously, moving forward.
And Klopp has been known to, like, you see, with Trent coming in from the academy, he's known to, like, really bring in academy players and make them sort of first teamers, So he'll definitely be looking to the likes of, like, Kyle Gordon, Javier Lit, now that he's injured, Conor Bradley, Tyler Morton, these players. So, like, you see, Minamino can sort of look at those players like, okay, he's bringing in these young players. I've got to set leadership. You see, I saw a lot of leadership from him and Origi during the match. Sort of, they are the ones who set the tone, and it gives a good sort of benchmark for the young players to follow, So there's all around that. You can do so much, I guess, with that little opportunity you have, definitely, And who knows, he might maybe one day bench Sadio if, let's say, Sadio is not having a good run of games, and he comes in and have a good game. I think it's a good problem to have for any team. I don't think every team.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
Here's someone like Chelsea. You see, a lot of Chelsea players have been asking for Werner to start against City, because even though he's not like, Werner, the meme,
not a Lukaku,
goals, blah, 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 and all, but he still has a lot of pace to burn. And like, if you put him on the right wing, like Jesus, I'm sure he can like cause havoc, No,
and rightly so, because I agree. You see, Chelsea played City before, and the pace, the counter-attacking pace won them the game in the Champions League. In some ways. With Lukaku, the physical strength, can it be covered by players like Ruben Dias? Ruben Dias would be able to repel that physical strength, but the pace of Werner, so that's definitely a very good shout. They could even play together. Werner playing off Lukaku. We see it work for France. Obviously Giroud is a different player, but Giroud and Griezmann, that sort of a 4-4-1-1 sort of a formation might work in their favor as well.
You see, like even when Lukaku plays in Belgium with both the Hazards, they sort of revel off having someone to like sort of get the ball into those spaces,
But Chelsea, Saul Niguez, what do you think?
I think
I saw this tweet. Let me tell you this tweet. So I saw this tweet about Saul Niguez that says, Chelsea fans are so happy that Saul Niguez is on loan because they know that end of the season they can give him back to Atletico.
It's sort of like
because he's been having a man.
He's sort of like an escort, I guess. It's not like a relationship, or maybe it's sort of like a FOB. I mean, they're only looking to the benefits of Saul without like actually looking to like tie him down long term. Definitely, they're just trying to I think they're just trying to have a bit of fun with him and not really make him like a Kante or Jorginho, But I think Tuchel's management of Saul was really good because he played him in Aston Villa, gave him the trust. So he gave him the trust. But he did not have a good game. He struggled a lot with the pace, and I think was one of the worst performances in that game. And Tuchel was very honest in the post-match. He was he was not ready. It was my fault for bringing him. He still has a lot to sort of get used to the pace and blah blah blah. And I think that honesty is very, very instead of the manager saying, "Oh, he's not blah blah blah," but I'm dropping him and not playing him and isolating him. So I definitely think Tuchel is the manager to make it work. I think if there's any of the top 3 managers in England, I think he's one manager that could make it work, and it just gives Chelsea more options. I mean, having someone like Saul in the team is not going to be a disadvantage. It's always going to be an advantage. It's just how you use him. That's the only thing.
And again, of course, it's still very early. You remember last season, Kai Havertz, we were saying the same things. We were saying that, lots of money coming from Germany. Could this league be still too tough for him? But you look at the end of it, this guy literally, he shone so brightly. And of course, Chelsea won the Champions League. Chelsea are flying now. And I mean, it's still early days.
Yeah.
And
I mean, people were having to go at Jorginho as well.
When he first came, exactly. When he first came, and look at him now.
Because it didn't work under Sarri, it didn't work under Lampard, but now he's sort of like a different player.
I think it's just getting used to the pace. I think, not everybody's a Coutinho. I remember when Coutinho first came to Liverpool, he adapted so quickly from Inter Milan. I mean, everybody needs time. Everybody needs time to actually, get used to the pace of the Premier League because they don't
some players can. You see, someone like Bruno Fernandes. He sort of came in and just he lifted sort of the performance. I think Fernandes. I think he was one of them. Sorry, I mean, I think he was one of the players who was extremely underrated when he came, and sort of I think he shocked everybody. I think he took the league by storm actually when he came.
It's about getting used to the pace of the game. I mean, Saul, we know he's got quality on the ball, and it's all about Tuchel fitting him into the team, making him work in that midfield. But nevertheless, Chelsea have depth. Chelsea have Jorginho, Chelsea have Kante, Kovacic. They're spoiled for choice. They're in good hands. I mean, and what more with a manager like Tuchel, strategically very, very adept and so on. So, I mean, you're right on saying Chelsea are spot-on favourites for, most of the competitions that they're in. And I can only think that maybe injuries, tiredness, all of these things could be haunting them. But nevertheless, I think it still looks good for Chelsea. Chelsea look favourites, actually.
Definitely. So I guess we can smoothly sort of segue from this discussion into this week's first game on Saturday weekend, which is Chelsea against City, So surprisingly, not surprisingly, I guess you can look at it from the start of the season. A lot of the journalists I was watching, I think Kelly and Wrighty show, Kelly Dalglish's daughter, she has this show for BBC, I think, she and Righty have this show. So
Yeah, the
Righty
Kelly and
wasn't
Righty
there.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, on that show itself, they were a lot of them were saying that, they're giving Chelsea sort of like the the advantage for the game. A lot of them were predicting Chelsea to win, and use because so basically Chelsea are playing at home. He's won, I think, the last two encounters with Guardiola with this Chelsea team, definitely the Champions League being, and right now Chelsea on the run of form, a better run of form than City. So on the basis of those 3 points, I think a lot of them went for Chelsea there. But what do you think? Do you think Guardiola can sort of come to Stamford Bridge and redeem himself and sort of show City's sort of force? Do you think Chelsea will be too tough game? What do you think? Is it going to be like a high scoring game? Do you think Chelsea are going to keep the clean sheet? Obviously, it's tough to say before the game even starts, but a lot of stuff to like sort of look at that in that sense.
Well, before I start, can we call this another El Clasico, another El Clasico, City Chelsea?
Yeah,
No, I
like El
think
Clasico for sure.
coming into City, I think Guardiola. What's most important, in my opinion, is the way he's going to set his team up. The lineup is going to be very important. We've seen that Gabriel Jesus on the wings work, but Sterling in the middle as an out and out number 9 playing in that middle maybe
Yeah,
needs to be changed. You either play in a Ferran Torres, who played well in that position against Arsenal, and play or Gabriel Jesus on the wing, Craig Grealish on the left. You could bring in Foden second half. It depends. I think with Chelsea, you can hurt them if you're going to be playing with an out and out person in the middle. What more with Ferran Torres? Because if they're going to be playing with someone like Thiago Silva, even Christensen, then Ferran Torres has the pace to hurt that Chelsea backline.
Yeah.
Rudiger obviously has been doing very well. But if you're going to be playing with Sterling, I think that's sometimes, I think Guardiola persists with this a little bit too much. Sterling is obviously a talented player, a fantastic player, but I think when it comes to these big teams and breaking them down, we've been speaking about this a lot during our podcast. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need that number 9. Sometimes you need that. And I know City wanted to go for Harry Kane, and I'm sure he would have started had he been at City.
Yeah.
But, you've got to improvise. And I think Ferran Torres he's a very mobile striker. He's got good attributes. He's fast, and he could be a good starter for City. But it all depends on the lineup. For Chelsea, on the other hand, when we look at that on a tactical perspective, they're obviously playing at home. And I think that they too, and I can even touch upon Liverpool on this, they haven't been playing so well. I thought that Chelsea started off well, but after that there was a small little drop. They didn't play so well in the League Cup. I think they won in penalties, right? But it's the midfield that protects the defense and that solid wall, which is so vital for these teams. So I'm here thinking that how is City going to break through that? Obviously, City can, but I think Chelsea are the ones, for me, in my opinion, that look more of the likelier to win, because
on the cards,
on the cards, they look like they are always edging out a result. They look like, whilst they're not playing their best football, they're edging out a result. When I watched Leicester and City the last time around when they played the last weekend, I thought City looked, maybe it could be fatigue because of the Champions League, but City didn't look their usual self.
Against Southampton, right? Against Southampton.
Southampton. Yeah. So, and I thought that they didn't look their usual self, and that's odd. See, and I remember mentioning that City are usually very good against a low block. They struggle against top teams when the top teams go against
who
them.
can hit them on the counter.
Hit them on the counter. Man United, Chelsea, even your Liverpools. And I think on the balance of it, I think Guardiola is going to look at this to say, look, the Champions League that happened last season, the final, that's the most alarming statistic to show that, look, we know what are Chelsea's strengths.
Exactly.
We've got to beat that. We've got to go better than that. And I think Sterling can play. Maybe you want to play him on the left. You want to change things up a little bit. Bring on Jack Grealish in the second half. More of an impact player. I know Guardiola has been starting him, I think, most games in the Premier League. But, you can play Sterling in the left. Sterling is naturally a left player at City, at least, but playing him in the middle, I think, again, you're taking out the instinctive number 9 approach, which you need. You need this in the big games,
exactly.
and I think that's missing. So it all depends on the lineup. But if you were to ask me to predict, I think it's going to be a team in blue that wins.
Right. You're going for 2-1 Chelsea,
but from London. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if Timo Werner plays like what you mentioned just now, and I think if he's gonna hurt City with the pace, and if Lukaku plays, Lukaku obviously is having good confidence at the moment.
That was, I think
Chelsea
the point. Yeah, tell Chelsea. Okay, if you're going for a Chelsea win, maybe a 2-1 win, I'll go with a City 3-0, just to keep it sort of balanced. Let's see. Well, I think I'm more hoping for that score so that they can lose that clean sheet, other teams looking on them, But I think that was sort of the point that journalists were making, the fact that Chelsea are starting with like an out-and-out striker, and ultimately that might be a difference. I think Guardiola would take Lukaku in his team any day of the week,
Of course,
right now especially. So it's either the team with the striker that prevails or the team with the more functioning sort of attack front three. Because I feel like Jesus, Ferran, and Grealish have started the season well, and they've found some rhythm. Whereas if, let's say, Werner were to play with Lukaku, they would have to find that rhythm very quickly, So I guess front three, City have a very strong front three, but in terms of that sort of striking ability, having someone in the middle there to create problems for defenders, I think that's where Lukaku would prove to be like a very big asset, definitely.
Yeah, very big asset.
Interesting game to watch, and we'll definitely give you our reactions on that. So moving on from that game, Al, Arsenal vs Spurs, North London derby. What a great game! Always North London derby is always a good game for the neutrals. I think maybe the second best derby in the Premier League, second only to Liverpool versus United.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But in terms of sort of a city derby, I definitely think North London derby is definitely one of the biggest derbies. And interesting, Al, because Arsenal's rise but Arsenal's sort of good form over the last few games have coincided with Spurs' bad dropping.
Yeah. So it's equal balance now.
Yeah. So Arsenal have started to score goals. So I think, from their last 3 matches, 5 goals. And Spurs have conceded 6 goals from their last 2 matches. Right. So, there's a lot to look forward to there. I think if you look at the league table as well, if Arsenal can get a win in this North London derby, they'll be level on points with Spurs fans. With Spurs, and like Spurs fans definitely won't be happy with that, considering they had like a perfect start to the season and suddenly sort of, I think losing to Arsenal, a lot of Spurs fans would not take it very well. I think a lot of Arsenal fans as well, they'd be looking to win the North London derby. And I've always felt that Arsenal, despite their bad form, have always looked strong in the North London derby. I think like you mentioned,
agreed.
Recording, right? So I'm definitely gonna look at a few things here. One of the things is the team sheet. I think Arsenal will be looking to what players start. I think Nuno, I think it's pretty straightforward for him. Kane definitely starts. I think Kane captained
definitely
that win against Wolves. Obviously they went into penalties, but I think Kane got that goal against Wolves and he looked quite sharp. Definitely missed a few chances, but I think Son, Dele, and Kane are definitely nailed on to start, with players like Højbjerg and Skip maybe coming in, But for Arsenal, I wanted to ask you, Al, because like a lot of Arsenal fans don't want Xhaka to start the North London derby, right? You see, you get some people on the spectrum of they don't want him to start because they know how much of a loose cannon he can be. Ironically,
that's a fair point.
Cannon and Arsenal sort of, they want to be cannons in that sense, but he's got one cannon that's a bit.
That's supposed to be a good thing.
But none of that cannon is unmanned. Like Xhaka is like an unmanned cannon, He just goes off anytime, like without anybody controlling it. So a lot of Arsenal fans have been asking for Partey to start with Sambi Lokonga, definitely. I think he'll be a good sort of baptism of fire for someone like Sambi Lokonga as well. I think I think Laka, I think he's had a good record in not London derbies, Alexander Lacazette. I think the defense is probably nailed on. It's probably going to be Tomiyasu, Gabriel, Ben White, and Kieran Tierney.
Kieran
I
Tierney.
think their Portuguese young left back, Tavares. I think he's had a good sort of few shows for Arsenal. He'll definitely be knocking on Tierney's door, but I think that back four is sort of nailed on. I just want to ask you, El, on that midfield. Do you think Xhaka should be starting the Northern Derby in the weekend? And just like in terms of other players as well, who you think should be starting, who you think should be the one starting?
Granit Xhaka's Arsenal record. I mean, I've read it before that certain Arsenal fans say in 10 games, this guy either has 0 good games or 1 good game. So when he has that 1 good game, he plays really well apparently, and the other 9 that he's total rubbish. I mean, but when we remember the Man City game against Arsenal, I thought City would have won the game anyhow, 11v11. But definitely the red card completely just capitulated Arsenal, their game plan, everything just went to bust. Granit Xhaka brings the experience, definitely. He does bring the experience, but Thomas Partey definitely has got to start in front of him. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Arteta goes with Partey and Xhaka because of this. It's only because of the experience. Lokonga maybe North London derby, fans, the hype. But then again, you'd want something like this. Even I mean, the counter argument to that is that's the exact reason why you should put Lokonga into a North London derby game.
Yes, that's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, so I would like him to be more progressive, Arteta to be more progressive, and definitely if you more progressive, I think Lokonga and Thomas Partey brings the ball out from the back a whole lot better. Partey is fantastic on his feet, you know that. And Emil Smith-Rowe has got to play. I think he will definitely start. I think he's been, even in the League Cup game, he fantastically played so well, right? But it all depends, I think, on how Aubameyang is going to be holding up play, supporting the wingers, and finishing off the chances. If he can play well, because I think with Arsenal, it's simple. It looks like everything is going to be centered around their most experienced player, which of course, obviously, is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And I think when Aubameyang plays well, and if Arsenal play to his strengths, let's not forget they've got other players as well, Saka and Martinelli, which are, and Nicolas Pepe. Nicolas Pepe has been showing some good signs. He started off the season with Arsenal last season, in not very good fashion, but I thought he's been growing in the Premier League and he's been putting solid performances, maybe decent performances, and he's another one to look out for as well. I think the thing with Nicolas Pepe is that I believe, looking at games like when he played against Man United and playing against the bigger teams, he has shown that he can play with those teams. Of course, there's still a lot to see with Nicolas Pepe, but I think Arsenal definitely have got to be going for it. I think Arteta has got to go for it. Arteta has got to be progressive in his game plan. With Granit Xhaka, I think when it comes to selecting him, obviously his stability, the experience is vital. We lose. You see teams losing goals due to a lack of experience, due to a lack of leadership so much. I think it's players like Xhaka who can actually see an attack happening from the opposition, before it actually happens. But it's the other limitations. It's the loose head. It's the lack of forward passes. It's that lack of midfield dynamism, which you obviously see better with Lokonga and Partey, which I feel that, again, if Arsenal wants to win that game, they should be starting with those guys.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like a good problem to have, but I think, you see, Xhaka, he definitely has the experience, and I think he has the sort of the aggression to sort of be a good sort of marshal in that midfield, to like snuff out chances and to sort of maybe do the little bit of the dark arts in that sense, in terms of bringing players down, knowing when to do the tactical foul. I think he's a good player for that. But you see, Granit Xhaka has already spent 4 years in the English Premier League, and his pace and his sort of his youthfulness, I mean, it's not going to get any better. His standards are definitely going to slowly drop, and he's probably going to move to a league that's a bit more slower, where he can sort of end his career, right? So I'm not too sure in that sense because I think North London derby it's the biggest game for both
Feisty.
Arsenal.
It's going to be a feisty game,
Yeah,
that's
it's going
for
to be a
sure.
feisty affair. So I think Arsenal should go for it, like you said, and I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
they should play a more attacking midfield. I think, look, having two holding midfielders is the least they can go in terms of having all the
yeah.
options there. Because another question is, should Emil Smith-Rowe start in the same team with Odegaard? Because both of them play sort of similar, sort of attacking, creating that sort of roles. I think both of them can play in the same team, but it's just a question
Yeah,
of whether he's brave enough to go for the full-on
yeah.
attacking.
Odegaard, forgot about him. He's definitely got to
Yeah,
start.
he's definitely got to start. I mean, coming back from that free kick, I think he scored over the weekend. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a great game. And I think both Al and myself, we don't want to over sort of discuss it. I think overanalyze it. I think the analysis sort of happens after a game like that. There's only nothing much to do but just sit back and enjoy. So, I mean, I just wanted to get
Predictions?
your thoughts on the lineups, right? Yeah.
All right, like our
Sorry?
lineups is okay. Later you can predict. Okay, with lineups,
Predictions.
well, you
So
talking about
basically, Xhaka
Spurs?
starts with, because for me, Xhaka doesn't start. I feel he should go a little bit more attacking, but I think Xhaka will be a good option off the bench, definitely. You know,
Yeah, no, definitely. If you want the experience of the bench, maybe when things go south, maybe you've
yeah,
got an injury. Yeah, then you get in your. But I struggle to see what Xhaka is going to offer more in comparison with players like your Thomas Partey's and whatnot. I think I'd select Thomas Partey any day of the week, twice on Sunday. He's that good. He's
yeah,
definitely that good. And like I said, I mean, Arsenal playing at home. Can you imagine how much it would lift the spirits of the team and the crowd winning a North London derby? This could be
yeah.
a start.
It's crucial. I would say it's
Yeah,
very crucial. It's bigger than when Arsenal play City or United or Liverpool
yeah,
or whoever it is. I
exactly.
think they always look towards the North London derby as an indicator of how the season is. I think you can win all the games and lose the North London derby and still not be happy with that. So
Yeah,
definitely. So does
definitely.
Xhaka start for you? Does he start?
I know. I
No.
wouldn't go with him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
I
go with
think
him.
I think both of us have that same sort of notion of
Yeah,
where he should just go full on attacking and try to take the game. I think the fans will be a lot more forgiving if he goes for the game and loses it rather than if
yeah.
he yeah.
No,
Yeah,
no,
definitely.
no, no. Nobody wants to see a 5-minute flying tackle on Son Heung-min and referee just giving him a red card,
Yeah,
giving
they're
him a
gonna
red card, and off you go.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely. So Arsenal win, Tottenham win.
I would say I'm going for
Seems like a game that's got
Arsenal.
all this build up, it's gonna end up as a draw, isn't it? Like
Yeah, that's always the curse, isn't it? We're
yeah.
building up. We're talking
I'm
party.
just scared Nuno is gonna come out with his really stubborn like sort of game plan and really try to snuff Arsenal out, and hit them on the
Yeah,
counter. It's gonna be a boring 1-0, but I'm just hoping the game has goals. That's all I'm hoping for.
yeah, yeah. I mean, even for Spurs, for that matter, I think they should be smelling blood, especially
Yeah,
now. Because you look at the North London derby, and I've always remembered Arsenal to be struggling but coming back stronger in these games. So even for Spurs, they've got to attack as well. You need your Harry Kanes to really step up.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you definitely need
You
them
don't
to be
want
stepping up.
Arsenal to be at the end of Saturday to be level on points with you. Definitely,
Exactly. I
especially
think I
as
think yeah,
Arsenal.
that's going to be definitely. And I would say I will be going for a Arsenal 3-1 win. Spurs
Wow,
red.
wow. Hell there with a very 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 bold prediction for Arsenal. I think Arsenal fans are gonna like that. I think
Yeah, now
definitely.
I've been giving Arsenal fans in this
I'll
channel a bit
go
of a
since you say Arsenal. I think I'll go for Spurs boring 1-0 win. Because if it's Spurs win, it's gonna be a boring 1-0. We all know that, right? But if
yeah,
Arsenal win, we're probably gonna see some goals. And I'm hoping more for your prediction. But just on the balance, sort of balance both our
yeah,
opinions here. I think I'll
tactically,
go
yeah.
for a boring, a drab old 1-0. But we do not know because the English Premier League, guys, as you know, gives us the chills and spills, gives us a roller coaster ride every weekend, and we look forward to the games of this weekend. So that's been our sort of review for the games of the weekend, and a preview for the games of the weekend. And yeah, looking forward to watch the games and do a review with you guys. So that's all from me, Jerry, and
All right, guys. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
thanks a
Happy
lot for
weekend.
listening. Sekian, terima kasih. See you all next week.
You all. Ciao.